So now let's distinguish the key components that contribute to the performance optimization within a design. And so when we think about key components and performance optimization for a solution, for example, we've been dealing with our service application and we've started down the road of creating survey functionality into our service application. And we've not really gotten into the service console a whole lot quite yet, which we'll be getting into soon. But for these surveys that we create, we have seen the ability to associate these with an account and a contact that belongs to that account. But one thing I want to look at is the performance if we create a new survey from the Surveys tab rather than from an account record. Now, if you remember previously, we were in United Oil and Gas Corp, and then the related list for surveys, we clicked New to associate this new survey with the United Oil and Gas Corp account. So when you think about designing a solution for the Service Cloud, you got to think about things like this. Now, your desired behavior you may want to reinforce is that all surveys are done from the account. So you may want to consider removing the Surveys tab from non-admin users so that they don't create a new survey from the tab. And so let's test this out and see what the performance difference is if we go the route of creating a new survey from the Surveys tab. So if I click New, and I'm going to go ahead and survey someone that belongs to United Oil and Gas Corp. Now we have our search filter for this field. So we're going to see if this search filter works dynamically. As in this scenario, we've not saved this survey to the database yet or to the Salesforce instance. And so we're going to see if the filter works dynamically to just filter by contacts that belong to United Oil and Gas Corp. Now I've opened up an all contacts list view in another tab to remind me of the names of other people that don't belong to the account that I'm creating this survey for. So for example, if I used Andy Young, who belongs to this account called Dickinson PLC. Let's see if we can pull up Andy Young and associate this survey with Andy Young. So I'm going to do a search, and our search filter does indeed work, saying that invalid option has been chosen. Now we can adjust that error message to give more clarification around this. And I thought we had, so it may be a limitation of Lightning, or I may be remembering incorrectly, but our search filter is working to where we have to select someone that belongs to United Oil and Gas Corp. So for example, I'm going to sort by account name on this list and see that in addition to Stella Pavlova, we have a few other people here belonging to this company, such as Lauren Boyle or Arthur Song, for instance. And so if I type in Song, it'll pull up Arthur Song in United Oil and Gas Corp. Then we've got our NPS answer, and that's our Net Promoter Score answer. So I'm going to give that a 6 and click Save. And so we verified through doing some testing in our org that our solution design will still work, our filter will still work, regardless of if a user goes through the account or if they go directly through the Surveys tab to create the new survey. And so these are real world scenarios that you'll come through because you may understand concepts around lookup filters, but aren't sure like, okay, will this work dynamically before it's been saved to Salesforce, or do we need to remove this tab? And so as you're doing Service Cloud solution design, you will need to test some of these scenarios out and think through the different click paths that users will use in order to create surveys in this example or whatever objects you're dealing with. And that will help form your solution design. Now, one thing is that we also have a design issue or shortcoming that we could optimize for better performance, in that we've allowed for NPS scores that can exceed 10. And in our scale and in our specifications that we looked at previously, we need to limit this answer to 10 as the highest number. So for example, if I did 100 and click Save, it's saying that the value is outside the valid range on the numeric field. And so it's a 2-digit field is the limit that we specified on the field level. And so I should be able to enter 99 and click Save. And so the way that we can limit this is to begin to round out our new custom object via some validation rules. And this is another key component for performance optimization, is enforcing valid data inputs. And so, for example, if we go into Setup and the Object Manager, and I'm going to click Get Started over here, and this is a link for the Object Manager, just another example of how to get to somewhere in Salesforce. And then our custom object is survey. And so I'm going to select survey from the list. And so now we have our links on the left here, and below the fields and relationships which we've dealt with. And we'll be getting into page layouts and Lightning record pages and buttons, links and actions and record types and all that later on in the course. But what we want to look at right now as it relates to a key component for performance optimization would be a validation rule. So we need to create a new validation rule, and we're going to build this out and keep the highest possible score for MPS at a 10. And so for the rule name, I'm just going to call this MPS maximum. Then I provided a description so that when admins or developers or consultants look at the list of validation rules, they have a high-level description without having to go into the formula and figuring out what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so we want to build this out using the formula builder. And this is something that as you get more experience on the platform, this will become easier. And so you want to insert a field that's on the survey object. And that field that we're wanting to test against in our validation rule is the MPS answer field. And we see the API name here is MPS underscore answer underscore C. And so we know that's a custom field because of the underscore C. And so then we want this field to stop at 10. So we want anything that is greater than 10 to throw a validation rule error message. So we will always want to check the syntax to see if there's any errors found, and there's none. And so then for the error message, we want to say that the MPS score should be between 1 to 10. We're going to provide this error location on the MPS answer field on the survey object and click save. And so now we want to verify as well that this validation rule is active. You can turn these on or off for testing purposes or for whatever reason you want to by just unchecking this box if you need to. And so now if we go back into our survey and we've got our active validation rule here in play, we edit this, or if we edit anything on this actually, but I'm just going to go ahead and edit the field in question and click save, and we should see our error message. And so here is the warning, review the following fields, and it tells us what to review. I'm going to close that, and then we see that the MPS score should be a value between 1 to 10. So good ways to test this out would be to do like 10.1, and that should throw an error not for the validation rule. It may, but because this exceeds the format limits of the field, because we specified on the field level that this is going to be a 2-character numeric field with no decimal places. So let me try and save 10.1. And it actually just rounded it down to 10 and saved it. So that's kind of interesting to me. So these are some of the common scenarios that you can test out, though, to come up with key components for performance optimization as you're doing Service Cloud solution design. And so now another key component for performance optimization would be the Salesforce Service Console, now known as the Lightning Service Console. And so we'll look at that in the next lecture.